Now, I understand that plenty of Cowboys fans have a ton of anxiety over this cornerback room, especially with what we saw during the Jacksonville game. And look, I get it that we are pretty upset with the state of the room right now. And I'm going to talk about that more in detail in today's video. But the main question we want to discuss today is, do the Dallas Cowboys have an answer for this cornerback situation? Let's get into it. Now, look, I get it. There's a ton of anxiety over all these position groups because we're seeing some issues. We're getting closer to the postseason. What are we going to do? And so there have been plenty of people that are speculating the new cornerback that the Dallas Cowboys added, and that's Trayvon Mullen from the Arizona Cardinals, former Oakland Raider. Maybe he can come in and give the Cowboys quality reps. Now, he's already had a good rapport with the cornerback room, according to what's been going on in Dallas, and does he get some reps moving forward? We'll see. But what I think a lot of people need to understand is that the timeline for Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright is not the same as some of these other guys. And you might be saying, well, who am I referring to? Well, when you look at where these cornerbacks come from and how in the NFL they develop, they don't immediately become superstars. It's rare when that happens, right? Extremely rare, right? You know, you're seeing some of these guys coming in and they're immediately becoming success stories, and that doesn't happen usually. So 9 times out of 10, usually what happens is that you will see a player continue to make plays and be further along in their progress versus a player that has those physical attributes, but they need to learn more in the game. And that's kind of where Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright are at. They are guys that have the physical attributes to play the cornerback position extremely well, but mentally speaking, they're just not there yet. And that's okay. Like, that is okay, because if you understand that, then you can kind of give them a little bit of leeway. Now, I understand that I was upset with Kelvin Joseph's performance that led to him getting benched, and understandably so, because, hey, you're trying to win a game. But I think the Cowboys have to recognize that you took this guy in the second round. Is he going to be a superstar? No, he won't be. I think at best he's going to be an average solid starter for you, which is kind of, what you're looking for. But I think the Cowboys also have to recognize that you have a guy that just joined your team in DaRon Bland, who's playing a lot better. And what's funny is when I went back and looked at the tape for the Jacksonville game, the reason why Jacksonville started that comeback was because they recognized that by throwing it at DaRon Bland, you're not going to have any success. That had an interception and 2 pass deflections, right? And so you kind of look at what Joseph was doing. They started targeting him, and they went wild on the Cowboys defense. And I think that for the Cowboys moving forward, I've noticed that when they're in these base packages, it's usually just Diggs and Bland. Or if it's a nickel package where you're going to have someone out there, the nickel is Bland and you have Joseph out there with Diggs and stuff. And I'm just like, this is where you're kind of praying to God that Mullen can give you some form of snaps. And I think that we need to have some cause to pause, because we don't know what this guy's going to bring to the table. All we know is that the Cowboys liked him coming out of that draft class, and maybe, just maybe, you can get something out of him. And what are we asking? I'm not asking you to be an all-pro. I'm just asking you to do your job decent enough to, make sure that our defense doesn't limit what we can do, but also we don't get burnt toast. Like, we don't become burnt toast. I think that that's pretty much a nice little request there. So then there are options like Israel Mukuamu. Like, do you move Israel Mukuamu to the cornerback position? And, do you move Joseph to safety? I don't think you do that. I do think that moving Mukuamu to corner could be a good idea, but we don't know what he can do, guys. And I think that there are some Cowboys fans that are high on Izzy, and I understand why. But, guys, we haven't seen him in a full game setting. There have been some instances here and there that he's played, but at the end of the day, we don't know. And I think that's the problem, right? Like, there are people talking high about Trayvon Mullen. We don't know what he can bring to the table, right? And you might say, well, Space, it's probably better than what Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright can bring to the table. Yeah, maybe, but when Nahshon Wright went in there, I don't recall his name being called a whole lot, or looking at it and being like, he was horrific. So I think that for me, the game plan is going to be, I think you play Nahshon and you just kind of move from there, or you rotate between the two. And guess what, guys? because your playoff spot's already locked in and you know where you're going to be, you have time to tinker with this. And I think that's something that last year, because the Cowboys were winners of the NFC East, you kind of felt like, okay, this is where our roster's at. You couldn't really tinker with it to make it the best. And I'm not just saying the cornerback position. I'm just saying in general. But because you are not the best team in the conference, and because of the fact that you really don't know what your team's going to look like, I think that you have some leeway with that. So I would say to the Dallas Cowboys fans, I personally believe DaRon Bland is your cornerback 2 moving forward. And I think that Nahshon Wright should be given more snaps because I think that he has on film done better than what Kelvin did last game. And I'm not saying that one game being a sample size is an indication of anything, because let's keep it real. Like, to say that Kelvin Joseph hasn't had like any good plays, I think is ridiculous, because we saw in the last 2 games where he was able to make some plays here and there. Now, again, he's not a world beater by no means, but he did have a couple plays here and there. But I really think that with Anthony Brown's future in jeopardy, I think the Cowboys are just like, listen, I need to see what I got in these guys, and then they'll roll from there. But I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn, knowing what he said about the cornerback position being up for grabs, like, or, you know, hey, it's open competition, that gives you all the indication that, listen, they don't want Kelvin Joseph to start, number one, but number two, that it's anybody's game. So listen, I don't want to keep rambling on forever and ever, but with that being said, who do you guys think should be cornerback 2? Who do you think in some packages should be the cornerbacks? Please, by all means, let me know down in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to read those. Again, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys? Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.